There's a new loudspeaker demanding a host who won't let the hard realities go by, who won't cut around the hurt. Because the viewers? We're not tuning in just for ugly family drama anymore. We demand accountability, openness, somebody to say at long last what many of us have been yelling for years. This isn't working. What's obvious now is that the audience has outgrown the original narrative, the fantasy of togetherness, the illusion that love and devotion alone could keep a polygamous family intact. That fantasy has dissolved. And as Kody holds on to the remains, the viewer has evolved. We're tracking the women now, the women who discovered their strength and walked away from the rubble. We don't need excuses. We need growth. Ultimately, this show was always about relationships, and now it's about escaping the ones that held people small. It's not drama anymore. It's about truth. And for many viewers, the truth resides with the women, not the man who insists on rewriting history. What we just saw wasn't merely a family imploding. It was the detonation of a well-guarded illusion. Kody and Robyn attempted to persuade us for years that this was unity, love, and shared belief. But that picture is broken now. What remains is raw. What remains is real. A man out of control, a woman losing credibility, and a family finally finding the strength to stop pretending. Here's the question, and I truly want to know what you think. Do you think Robyn actually forgot what she said during that camping trip? Or was that all an act? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading each and every one. Because we all need a place to make sense of this madness together. If you love truth-telling, tea-spilling, and genuine growth stories, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and follow us here on Sister Wives Daily. I'm Maya, and I'll be here every step of the way as this saga keeps unfolding. And with how this season ended, awkward silences, shut-off cameras, and those knowing grins from daughters, you just know something big is coming. A spin-off. A reckoning. There's always a moment on every reality program where things change, not due to some explosive fight or huge revelation, but due to a glance. And on the Season 19 Sister Wives Tell-All, that moment arrived loud and clear when Kody Brown leaned in and whispered something that stung like a brick. Cut the cameras. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't sudden. It was like a man losing his hold on the story he'd worked so long to tell. And standing there, just off to one side, was Gwen, Christine's daughter, smiling with this little knowing smile. It told more than any melodramatic script ever could. Hey friends, and welcome to Sister Wives Daily. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps others discover it. And let me know in the comments, was that the moment when you finally saw Kody for who he is? Because for all of us who've been along on this ride since the beginning, this wasn't a typical dramatic reconciliation. This was the heartbreak breakdown of an ideology Kody had been proclaiming for years, one rooted in love, oneness, and faith. But as the camera receded and his voice broke across the silence, something irrefutable came through. He's not in control anymore. The dream? Lost. The control? Fading faster than ever before? And the women who had remained silent for so long, tucked away in the background. Well, they're no longer holding their tongues. What transpired in that tell-all wasn't merely a reveal, it was a reckoning. From day one, Kody Brown peddled one large concept louder than anything else. Unity. One family. One home. One heart. One great vision founded on faith, cooperation, and affection. That was the sales pitch, the ideal Kody peddled in those earlier seasons. He explained to the cameras and anybody who would listen that plural marriage wasn't about romance. It was about creating a tribe, a secure, closed ecosystem where sister wives cared for one another and the children were raised among love. Some of us believed him, at least for a while. But somewhere between relocating to Flagstaff and the season 19 tell-all, that whole dream fell apart. And not gradually. No. It collapsed like damp paper thrown into a tempest. Flagstaff was meant to be new beginnings, a tranquil mountain haven where they could finally find some peace. Instead, it was the start of the end. The wives felt alienated, the children were stretched in all directions, and Kody, well, he began to fall apart, blaming everyone and everything except himself. By the time that tell-all appeared, he finally spoke it aloud. The dream is over. He acknowledged his aspiration for one single family had fallen apart. But even then, in the same breath, he held on to the fantasy like it hadn't died years ago. Viewers were stunned, not only by his denial, but by the extent to which he'd become out of touch with the reality that everyone else was experiencing. It was as though he was still struggling on behalf of an illusion no one else had enlisted for any longer. If the dream was shattered, Kody's conduct on the tell-all destroyed the remaining. From the second he sat down in front of Suki, something felt off. You could feel it in the way he stood, arms crossed, face scrunched, eyes scanning around as if searching for an exit. His responses? Smug, curt, derogatory. Other times he simply sat in silence, letting the tension be louder than words. When he did say something, it was usually with a sneer or a half laugh, as if he were too good for this. Suki attempted, truly attempted. Her questions weren't even condescending, but as soon as she broached difficult subjects, such as his interactions with his former wives or how everything came apart at the seams, Kody closed up. He dodged, deflected, redirected. It felt like watching a man trying to rewrite his own story in real time, hoping no one remembered how it really played out. But fans remembered, and they weren't buying it. What really stung was when he looked straight into the camera and said, "I'm content." Content? While 3 of your wives are clearly hurting? While your family is falling apart? That moment hit like a slap to the face. Fans went wild online. Fans stormed in with comments, calling him delusional, heartless, out of touch. Viewers who had once thought Kody was the glue that kept this large, messy family together now viewed someone who was barely holding himself together, emotionally closed off and grasping at pride. The man who was once at the center of this complex family scenario has gradually become a symbol of what occurs when ego usurps empathy. And truthfully, as viewers, it's painful to watch. He was supposed to lead. Instead, he's a cautionary tale. For years, Robyn Brown was portrayed as the emotional center of the sister wives' family. She was the one who cried the most, who talked softly, and who always appeared the most fragile. Presented as the peacemaker, the newcomer who sought to fit into the sisterhood with humility and grace. And at that time, some fans did sympathize with her. She was walking into a complicated family situation, trying to fit in with women who already had decades of history. But somewhere along the way, the narrative shifted. What had been sympathies for Robyn gradually shifted to distrust. By the time season 19's tell-all arrived, that change could no longer be avoided. Robyn's perpetual emotional meltdowns started to feel a tad staged, her well-rehearsed phrases sounding more like a monologue than an actual conversation. Then there was the camping trip debacle, the event that broke whatever faith viewers had remaining. Christine, Meri, and Janelle, each remembered a family trip where the rest of the family was all contributing, cooking breakfast, carrying equipment in the cold, while Robyn was off on her own. They said she was inside the trailer putting on her makeup, apparently cut off from the rest of the family. Robyn, questioned about it, said she didn't remember anything like it. She said the moment didn't even register in her mind. But people remembered. And they had evidence. A vintage clip appeared on social media, and it showed Robyn obviously putting on makeup on that very same trip. The same trip that she didn't remember, even stated most likely never took place. Suddenly, the entire emotional performance began to appear a tad too rehearsed. Longtime viewers were outraged. It wasn't the fib, it was the smoothness with which she delivered it, that selective memory, that gentle denial. It struck a chord. Viewers who had been watching for more than 10 years felt like they were being gaslighted by someone feigning ignorance, even when the video evidence said otherwise. This was not merely about mascara in a camper. It was about trust. And for many fans, that trust was gone. It was one of those blink and you miss it moments, but for anyone paying attention, it spoke volumes. As Robyn scrambled to defend herself during the tell-all, trying to downplay the camping trip memories that had just been exposed, Gwen sat off to the side, silent, still, but with a faint, unmistakable smirk. Not cruel, not mocking, just knowing, like someone who's seen too much to be surprised anymore. That smile was unnecessary. It spoke volumes. Standing next to her, Suki attempted to maintain respect, but there was steel in her questioning. Robyn stumbled, and Suki didn't let her off the hook either. She prodded, not harshly, but with a firmness her fans adored. For once, no one was accepting evasive answers and rehearsed tears. There was no getaway hatch. Robyn was being called to account, even if only somewhat. Then there was the line that turned everything around. It was Kody's voice, immediately after his whispered goodbye to the cameras, picked up on a hot mic. "Cut the cameras, please." That moment was not only uncomfortable, it was representative. For years, Kody dictated the story. He stage-directed scenes, chose who spoke and when, and constructed the narrative from inside. But now, that soft whisper sounded like the dying breath of a man who understood the spotlight is no longer his to command. Fans overheard those words and lost their minds. Online forums exploded with demands for a new host, someone tougher than Suki, someone who'd grill harder, require more concrete answers, and call out evasions on the spot. But perhaps the larger transformation wasn't the host. It was the wives Meri, Christine, Janelle, Gwen, even Suki. They're no longer shrinking back. They've witnessed the game, sensed the weight, and now are reclaiming their space in the narrative. Kody's grip is weakening, and they're not intimidated by him anymore. When the tell-all concluded, it was supposed to be a closure. But it opened floodgates. Online forums, comment sections, podcasts. It was like a collective shout of enough. Audiences weren't just disappointed, they were appalled. The same tired behaviors continued to repeat themselves. Kody dodging responsibility, Robyn being baffled, and the women who had borne the brunt of the heartache for years barely getting any space to be heard. Fans had just had enough. You could sense the change in the air. Folks weren't tuning in for the soap opera anymore. They were hungry for justice, for honesty, and someone, to anyone, to stop pretending that Kody's side of things was all there was. One spectator commented, "Why are we constantly giving Kody a platform to rewrite history? We witnessed what actually happened." Others voiced the frustration. It wasn't simply a matter of not liking a character. It was that we felt like the show itself was covering for him. That's why fans began rallying for something new. Not a reboot. Not more from Kody and Robyn. They wanted a spin-off focused on Christine, Meri, and Janelle, the three women who had walked through fire, found their voices, and stepped into their own light. Honestly, I'd watch the heck out of a show just about the ex-wives living their best lives. Another fan commented, "That's the vibe now. We're finished waiting around for Kody to grow. We're ready to see women who already have." It reminds me of when Tamron Hall used to host the tell-alls. She asked the tough questions. She didn't dance around Kody's sensitive ego. And in an instant, she was gone. That wasn't lost on fans. Folks still discourse about how her in-your-face attitude made Kody uncomfortable, and how that could have been the actual reason that she didn't return. That question isn't asked, of course. How much say does Kody actually have over what gets on the air? Now, even with a new host, viewers are observing. And although Suki resisted in some instances, others believe she did not push hard enough in others. There's a new loudspeaker demanding a host who won't let the hard realities go by, who won't cut around the hurt. Because the viewers? We're not tuning in just for ugly family drama anymore. We demand accountability, openness, somebody to say at long last what many of us have been yelling for years. This isn't working. What's obvious now is that the audience has outgrown the original narrative, the fantasy of togetherness, the illusion that love and devotion alone could keep a polygamous family intact. That fantasy has dissolved. And as Kody holds on to the remains, the viewer has evolved. We're tracking the women now. The women who discovered their strength and walked away from the rubble. We don't need excuses. We need growth. Ultimately, this show was always about relationships. And now it's about escaping the ones that held people small. It's not drama anymore. It's about truth. And for many viewers, the truth resides with the women, not the man who insists on rewriting history. What we just saw wasn't merely a family imploding. It was the detonation of a well-guarded illusion. Kody and Robyn attempted to persuade us for years that this was unity, love, and shared belief. But that picture is broken now. What remains is raw. What remains is real. A man out of control, a woman losing credibility, and a family finally finding the strength to stop pretending. Here's the question, and I truly want to know what you think. Do you think Robyn actually forgot what she said during that camping trip? Or was that all an act? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading each and every one. Because we all need a place to make sense of this madness together. If you love truth-telling, tea-spilling, and genuine growth stories, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and follow us here on Sister Wives Daily. I'm Mia, and I'll be here every step of the way as this saga keeps unfolding. And with how this season ended, awkward silences, shut-off cameras, and those knowing grins from daughters, you just know something big is coming. A spin-off. A reckoning.